Assalamu alaikum. In today's lesson, we're going to learn how to write about maps as a part of task 1 writing in academic IELTS. Let's watch. Okay, when it comes to maps, you'll always find two maps. It's usually two maps depicting the same place in two different time periods, illustrating changes that happen to this place over time. These two maps could be past and present. For example, a map of the place in 2000 and then in now. Past and past, a map of the place in 1980 and the same place in 2000. Present and future, a map of the place now and then some proposed changes in the futures. Like for the government, for example, the government is thinking about making some changes in this place. So they put a map of the proposed changes, the suggested alterations that they're going to make in that place. Now, of course, you need to pay attention to the tenses. You want to be careful about that. You have to be very careful. For example, if it's past and present, then when you're describing the place in the past, you want to use the past. You can say, for example, there was a cinema. When you're talking about the present, you will use the present. Now there is a park instead of the cinema, for example. There was a stadium. Now there is a factory instead of the stadium. Past and past, no problems, because you're going to use the past in the two situations. Present and future, no, you need to be careful. For example, there is a stadium, but the stadium will be demolished and a park will be set up in the same place. You understand? Another example, the library will be replaced by an entertainment center, for example. So you want to make sure that you use the present for the present and the future for the future. Okay, how to write about maps? Step 1, you write an introduction, which is a paraphrase of the question. We've done that so many times before in the previous 4 types, so no problems with that. Step 2, write an overall paragraph. Okay, how do you write an overall paragraph for maps? You try to find a common theme for the changes that took place, if possible. Example, the city underwent a transformation, shifting its primary character from residential to industrial. Okay, when do you say residential to industrial? That's if you had too many houses in the past, but they were replaced with factories and so on. So you had houses and then the houses were torn down, and instead of the houses, we have factories. Then you say it was residential and it became industrial, or vice versa. You had many factories and then the factories were torn down and now you have houses. So you say it was industrial and then it became residential. If the two maps demonstrate transition of the location from a rural to an urban environment. Rural means that you had small houses and a lot of green areas. If it became urban, so instead of the houses, you have skyscrapers, right? And you have few green areas, then that means it became urban. If the two maps depict facilities that were introduced in the city, for example, maybe they built a school and a library and a hospital and a lot of things like that, then you can call them facilities that were introduced in the city to enhance the convenience of people's lives. These are just examples. You don't have to memorize these examples. You can just study them. And every time you are given two maps, you need to think, is there a theme behind the changes? But in some situations, it may be hard for you to find a common theme. Like you just have some changes, right? And these changes don't reflect a plan. There is no plan to change the identity of the place. For example, maybe the changes indicate a change of the location of some facilities. A school was transferred to the north and a hospital was transferred to the south. So in the past, you had a school and now you also have a school, but instead of the school being in the north of the city, it was moved to the south of the city. And you had a hospital, for example, and the hospital was in the east, but now it's in the west. So in the two cases, there is a hospital and a school and a hospital and a school, but the locations have changed. Can you really say that the identity of the place has changed? Can you say that the place was residential and then it became industrial, or it was urban and it became rural? No. So in this case, what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to write an overall paragraph? You simply write the two maps illustrate changes or transformations that happen to one place over a period of X years, 10 years, 20 years, or whatever it is. So we're using the word changes or transformations, which is a general word that can be used to describe anything without saying that these changes transforming the place from residential to industrial, or from urban to rural, or whatever it is, just changes. Or you can say the two maps depict the alterations. Alterations also mean changes that took place in a single location over the span of how many years. Okay. Now, step 3, you're going to write the body paragraphs. Let's keep things simple. Devote one body paragraph for the first map, another for the second map, and that's it. That's all you have to do. Of course, it's acceptable that one paragraph will be much shorter than the other. And in many cases, this one paragraph will be the paragraph depicting the first map. It will be short. And the one depicting the second map will be longer because it has all the changes. So that's fine in task 1 in maps. Here's an exercise. The two maps demonstrate changes which happened in Youngsville town over the period of 25 years. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. So that's the city in 1980, and that's the same city in 2005. And as you can see, it's past and past. So in the two situations, you're going to use the past. Let's take a look at the first city. So you had at the first map, I'm sorry. So you had trees, a lot of trees here and here, school, hospital. We also had a school and a hospital in the year 2005. But we can see that there is a park and the trees were cut down. Many of the trees were cut down. And that's a river. And south of the river, all the trees were cut down, all of them. And we had many houses. All these houses were torn down. And instead of the houses, we have skyscrapers here and here. In 2005, we had factories, and we cannot see any factories in 1980, no factories. And we had some houses north of the river, but all of these houses were cut down. And instead of the houses, the railway station, the railway line was extended. And we can see that there is a stadium. And there is a parking area here for cars, and another parking area here for cars. And it seems that some activities now can be done inside the lake. There's a boat and swimming. Oh, it was ready for swimming already, but like there is a boat now. Okay, so is there a theme? Can you write an overall paragraph for this essay? Is there any theme here that can be taken into consideration? A lot of houses were demolished, and we have skyscrapers and we have factories. Okay, let's take a look at this model answer right here. This is a model answer for the previous two maps. All you have to do is to read this model answer and learn from it, learn how to write the introduction and the overall paragraph and the body paragraphs and so on. And at the same time, you need to complete using words from the box. I'll give you some time to do that. All you have to do, as I said, is to read and complete using these words, put them in the right places. And then in a few seconds, I'm going to show you the correct answers. So grab a pen and a piece of paper, pause the screen, take your time, and then take a look at the answers. Okay, let's take a look at the answers. The maps show the developments which took place in the coastal town of Youngsville between 1980 and 2005. Overall, a comparison of the two maps reveals a change from a largely rural to a mainly urban landscape. In 1980, the town was a much greener residential area with a large number of trains and individual houses. There were no factories, skyscrapers, or a stadium. During the next 25 years, the town experienced a number of dramatic changes. The most noticeable is that all of the trees south of the river Alana were cut down, with all the houses along the railway line being knocked down and replaced by skyscrapers. Moreover, a new industrial estate with factories and warehouses sprang up around the airport and school. North of the river, only a few trees remained. The woodland was cleared to make way for a park, a golf course, and car parking facilities. Further developments, I'm sorry, that's a spelling mistake. Developments were the construction of a stadium near the northeast corner of the lake and a new stretch of railway from the river running directly north. A marina was also built at the mouth of the river. Okay. That's gonna be your homework. The two maps below show an island before and after the construction of some tourist facilities. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. So what you need to do is to start with an introduction in which you paraphrase the question, and then an overall paragraph in which you try to summarize the changes that took place, and then body paragraphs, one for the island before and another one for the island after the changes. And then send me this essay and I'm going to correct it and give you some feedback. I hope today's lesson was useful. Thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you for your time. Assalamu alaikum.